Darrell. Coming up this afternoon, government to review fiscal terms covering all oil exploration activities in the country as the energy sector is not spared impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Also coming up, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta justifies introduction of an electronic metering system for petroleum products today despite industry concerns. And we have a special report on new COVID-19 safety protocols weeks after domestic airlines resumed operations. Thanks for being with us once again. We've got the details right after this break. Welcome back. This afternoon, government says it is working to review the fiscal terms that will cover all oil exploration activities in the country. This is expected to help firms that have cut major oil exploration activities and potential investors that have put their moves on hold to review their decision amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the Energy Minister, John Peter Mewu, at the Africa Ministerial Roundtable on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the energy sector, also indicated that revenue targets have dropped drastically.
Of the pandemic has gradually led to decline in prices of oil, leading to significant drops in our revenue. In our projected budget for the year, we estimate an oil price of 62 barrels, with an estimated revenue of about $1.6 billion. With this 65% drop, we have lost almost about $1 billion as a result of the oil price. Our budget, in terms of the fiscal deficit, is expected to, widen. The deficit is expected to widen from, 4% as expected by the end of the year to 12.2% of GDP. Our last year growth was about 6.6% GDP growth. This pandemic has triggered it far below our expectation. Close of year GDP growth is expected to come as low as 1.2%. The price of gas was pegged at 4.75 per MMBTU with a benchmark production volume of about 86.3 trillion BTU. Oil production generally has been affected as a result of the pandemic. Number one, the prices, and then number two has to do with the volumes. Ghana, prior to the pandemic, have a very aggressive and accelerated production program where we intend to increase our reserve to production ratio. We went to Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, put in a very brilliant fiscal regime which enables companies to intensify their exploration regime. What we have witnessed within the period is that global fund has cut short, and so most of those exploration companies have redirected their targets out of Ghana. A typical company we are aware is our very good friend, a company coming from Norway, Aker Energy. It has a very aggressive exploration program and expected to spend quite in the range of about $7 billion to develop one of the new oil fields. That development has not seen the light of the day. We in the country for the first time has opened our first licensing round with a lot of enthusiasm, where a number of blocks have been sent up there to international oil companies to partake. Evaluations of those blocks, of course, have been delayed.
And while as the world makes a push for investment in renewable energy, Mr. Mewu spoke about where Ghana is in our quest to increase renewable energy resources.
Of electricity generations to hydrocarbon gas. Today, 60 to 65% of our electricity is generated as a result of the gas found that we are becoming more sufficient in terms of our electricity. Our electricity penetration in Ghana now is in the range of about 86%. The current president has an agenda that by the close of his second term, we should be doing about 91% of electricity. Electricity generation largely is because of our competence and our ability to make sure that we increase our hydro and also the hydrocarbon basis that we have. Sufficient gas reserves have been established. What it therefore meant is that we're going to put in a lot of combined cycle gas turbines to make sure that we have a mix of hydro and gas-fired turbines in the country. So the hydrocarbon industry in Ghana is still thriving. We have a lot of fields that are quite feasible and fields that are very prospective, that are open up for future explorations. I am a passion to people who believe in green energy. I believe in green energy. I understand clearly the concept of emission and what it means for African countries. But my colleagues, ministers in African countries, that's a word. As much as possible as we all have an intention of migrating to green energy, we should not dare to do this such that the countries, the new industrialized countries that are coming in, will begin to suffer. For instance, I don't see how Ghana is going to industrialize with the green revolution that we're talking about, where energy sufficiency in terms of hydrocarbon is still slightly cheaper than solar energy. I don't see how Ghana is going to industrialize with solar energy. I don't see how any African country is going to industrialize with solar energy. As much as the attention is towards industrialization, we should also take into consideration the fact that energy prices are very cheap. Most of the developed countries that we witness it today, they industrialize at a very cheap power price. Power prices less than 2-3 cents. Today in Africa, power is trading, in some areas about 13 or 12 cents, per kilowatt hour. How can African countries industrialize? And so we don't want to use going green as an index to make sure that the newcomers into the industrialization zone, the African countries that want to industrialize, should suffer. I totally disagree with that. And if the IEA can open a very big forum for us to engage this discussion, I think I'll be very interested.
So that was the Energy Minister, John Peter Amewu, speaking at the African Ministerial Roundtable on the impact of COVID-19 on the energy sector. We'll still remain with the energy sector because Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has justified a new electronic metering system which becomes operational today, insisting it does not need to have an extensive engagement with industry players. By this, petroleum products that are imported and moved from the tank farms would from today be reviewed by this new system. This is to help better audit tax declaration by importers of these petroleum products. My colleague Kwame Yanka was at the launch of a center dedicated to this project, and he gives us an idea how this works.
The center is considered the nerve of the electronic metering management system. Prior to implementation of this system, in and outflow of petroleum products at the tank farms were recorded manually. This led to discrepancies in figures by stakeholders, leading to onward loss of more than 3 billion cedis in the last few years. The technology deployed is one of the very first on the continent and is expected to improve efficiency. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is happy the project has materialized.
All the pipes entering every depot are tagged, so you know exactly what is coming in, and all the pipes going out are also tagged, so you know exactly what the quantities are in. That then enables you to have numbers that are reconcilable, that everybody will accept. And in my speech, I did mention the differences of numbers that you are seeing between the MPA, GRA, and then the companies themselves. So we eliminate that, and I think it was about 2 to 3 billion cedis of losses. So we are really excited about this change, where we can now determine exactly and get the revenues that we want. And I think in the past 3 weeks ago, Cabinet also agreed that we set up a special committee to look at the mineral resources. Okay, so that is also going to be another area in which we are tackling because of all of this revenue recovery.
Commissioner General of Customs Division of GRA, Colonel Kojo-Damwa, retired, says the new system is difficult to tamper with.
If in the past we've lost so much, the projection is that we are likely to lose more in the near future if we do not implement it. So I can say that we are likely to save more than we have lost by the implementation of this new system. Yeah, fortunately, this one is slightly different from those types. This has an alert inbuilt system, and it uses some scientific means that the slightest touch, it triggers, and we have monitors all over. So within real time, somebody will see the movement of somebody, the tampering and everything. And then we also have our officers who are positioned, who will be patrolling these areas from time to time. So even though people may want to, I think that the insurance here is that the system depends on a technology that is more difficult to destroy than in the cases of those devices for tracking of transit goods from one point to the other.
Meanwhile, General Manager of Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, Christian Soti, says this system will end years of disputed figures.
There's always this confusion of which is the actual figure. And it brings that kind of suspicion and so on. So this project was conceived to have an electronic and IT solution to that problem, whereby there will be no human intervention and the system will record what takes place in real time, so that products coming in are recorded and products going out are recorded. And because it's electronic and it's in real time, at the end of the period, the report that comes out, everybody can see it and confirm. So this is bringing added efficiency to what already is taking place.
Great stuff. So it's just day one. We see how the implementation goes and would have subsequent reports. Now, you're watching the marketplace. One of the things I miss a lot is traveling by air. And the closest I have come during these times of the pandemic is this souvenir that I keep in my house. It reminds me of a lot about traveling. But unfortunately, COVID-19 pandemic is not allowing us to. Well, air travel domestically is reopening as across the globe, but there are new changes. Things are not so normal like we used to have them. And my colleague Charles Aite has first-hand experience what these new changes are, the enforcement of COVID-19 safety protocols. He has more in this special report.
The domestic airlines are out for business. This is Terminal 2 Departures Unit of the Kotoka International Airport. We're here on a particular mission. It's all about COVID-19 and the preparedness of the domestic airline sector as they open up to business. Remember that this is very crucial for them as it's going to test their systems and how prepared they are amidst the coronavirus. Already you could see from the ground the various food stamps that are indicative of social distancing protocol. Already you could see around me how less busy the entire environment is. It even raises questions about the entire anxiety that most travelers are having in these uncertain times. Today is going to be an interesting day. I'm going to be taking a trip aboard the Africa World Airlines plane all the way to their new Takoradi routes to get to know the social distancing protocols they are putting in place. It's going to be myself and my colleague from our sister station, Adum FM. Are you really ready for this trip?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
So what exactly are you hoping to see for yourself?
I'm trying to see that at least all the safety protocols that the President and the WHO have outlined will be in place.
That's great. So already we have our tickets for ourselves and we're ready to board. Come on board, let's see what exactly we're going to find. We were granted access to the check-in section of Africa World Airlines. Here, passengers maintain their social distance. You will have to show your ID card to the attendant at a distance as they complete pre-departure formalities. For domestic airlines like Africa World Airlines, now is the time to win back the confidence of passengers. Profits are an afterthought. Sean Mendes is the Chief Executive Officer of Africa World Airlines.
We put in place a number of protocols. In fact, these are industry-leading protocols at various steps of the entire process, from when you arrive at the airport, where your temperature will be screened, where you will be ensured that you're wearing face masks, hand sanitizer is available at all various points. Your check-in process is contactless, where our staff do not come in contact with your documents. Your check-in baggage is disinfected prior to loading boarding on the aircraft. You go through a contactless security procedure and boarding. All passengers have their hands sanitized before boarding the aircraft. Crew maintain, again, social distance from the passengers. We have not allocated. We ensure that no passengers have another adult sitting next to them. There are exceptions for children. Similarly, your bags are disinfected when they arrive at the destination. All in all, we've done everything we can to ensure that every step that we can take to ensure that passengers are flying safely with us has been taken.
So where do you see this in the short to medium term?
I think in the short term it's important that we get the confidence of the traveling public back. Aviation is the safest form of transport in Ghana, bar none.
Data from the Ghana Airport Company Limited show that since May 1, passenger turnout from Accra to the two major domestic destinations of Kumasi and Tamale spiked from nearly 1,850 travelers per week to almost 2,800 passengers per week. Sean Mendes says the attention of passengers have now shifted from the kind of meals they would have to be served on board to how many times the plane they board gets disinfected.
I think the main thing which has changed as a result of coronavirus in terms of operational procedures and what we've learned from that is that passengers now will place a much bigger emphasis on the safety and sanitary conditions than they did before. In the past, you would often get passengers who focused more on, what kind of food or snacks or drinks are available on board. Today, the question is more along the lines of, when did you last clean the plane? Do you have extra sanitizer I can use on my hands and things like that? So I think people's priorities have shifted, and obviously, as a service provider, we have to be able to change our operations to be able to deal with what's good both for the passenger as well as for society as a whole.
Making it to the boarding room, I see the departure hall of Terminal 2, which houses domestic flights with less activity. Basic security checks were done, after which we inched next to board the flight. Here at the boarding room, you could see a very different arrangement in sitting. Passengers here are not sitting close to each other. They've spaced out actually. When you get to this particular point, for example, you can see this sticker here, please do not sit here. It's part of the measures that Africa World Airlines and in fact the entire Ghana Civil Aviation Authority is putting in place to ensure the social distancing protocols are observed. This is the first of it. We get to see the various steps that they've taken as well to ensure the safety of most of the passengers here. Africa World Airlines takes up to 70% of Ghana's domestic airline industry. Management of the Ghana Airport Company Limited has initiated COVID-19 safety protocols, such as wearing of face masks, the use of hand sanitizers, as well as physical distancing for travelers and the airlines to strictly observe. The various regulatory authorities such as the Ghana Airport Company Limited, the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority and the Ghana Health Service were all on duty to enforce the laid down procedures and protocols. After passengers are screened, they are shuttled by these two coaches to the airplane. These buses are not crowded. Seating capacity has been dropped by half. Few minutes to take off, these passengers are off to Takoradi in 40 minutes. One interesting arrangement you notice in this particular plane has to do with the seating arrangements and the branded upholstery on the seats. Now, this particular seat has no branded upholstery except for this one. It simply means that this seat is out of service. Passengers cannot board this seat. And it's all part of measures to ensure distancing among passengers in this particular plane. Seating arrangement all speak to social distancing measures. In fact, Africa World Airlines has reduced capacity from 50 to 24 passengers, less than half of its normal capacity. Touching down at the Takoradi Airport, a second phase of disinfection begins.
So for the smaller flights, it takes 10 to 15 minutes to get the plane ready for the other passengers leaving. And then at the end of the day, so before the flight loads in the morning or whatever time the schedule is, the whole plane is disinfected, sprayed, and then cleaned up. So when they come, they pick the passengers, it's cleaned again before they take the passengers. Then at the end of the day, total or thorough disinfection is done again for it.
But interestingly, don't you think others could be concerned about how this could affect the timing? It's going to delay flights.
Yes, that's why we try as much as possible to do it quickly. Yeah, so the staff are enough to make sure that things are hurried up.
Okay. So you've come, you are supervising this whole exercise. How is it going so far?
Yeah, so far I think they are doing well. Yes, the staff are quick on their feet and they make sure that no flight is delayed unduly.
This is the new normal. These officials are disinfecting every part of the plane, mostly used by passengers. Window slides, seat handles, everywhere.
Yeah, I feel very, very comfortable. Yeah, very safe. Yeah.
Before COVID-19, when you heard flights were opening, were you worried?
No, I wasn't worried. I wasn't worried because I knew they would practice the social distance, so I wasn't. In fact, I was happy.
Yeah. Africa World, they did their best from boarding to, from check-in to now observing the safety protocols. So yes, I would say thumbs up, Africa World.
Any advice to prospective passengers out there who might feel concerned boarding the flights during this time?
Yeah, the skepticism is all over, right? It's just about what the president said. It's a matter of us taking our own personal health into our own hands and ensure we'll observe the protocols he outlined.
The future of air travel is bleak as the International Air Transport Association IATA, in its financial outlook for the global air transport industry, showed that airlines are expected to lose $84 billion in 2021. Revenues will fall by 50% to $419 billion in 2020 from the expected $838 billion in 2019. But there are questions in place. What happens if this becomes a norm for the next few years? How could these domestic airlines survive the pressure of having to spend more and get little in return? Are they going to seek specific incentives from government, or will the entire business be crumbling in no particular time? I'm Charles Ayete reporting for Joy Business.
Good questions and great reporting from Charles Ayete, as always. Some changes you should get accustomed to when air travel begins. Essentially, it has. Domestic airlines are flying, commercial airlines, though it is limited. But for the likes of me, I guess that we've got to be stuck with our souvenirs here. Well, quick one, an update on what's happening internationally. Aerospace giant AIRBUS says it plans to cut 15,000 jobs as it deals with the effects of the coronavirus crisis. It will cut 1,700 jobs in the UK, along with thousands more in Germany, Spain, and elsewhere. The move is subject to talks with unions which have opposed compulsory redundancies. The Unite Union said the AIRBUS announcement was another act of industrial vandalism against the UK aerospace sector. Some 134,000 people work for AIRBUS worldwide, with around a tenth of them in the UK. And more details of the job losses and how they'll break down between the two giant factories will come at the end of the week after talks with the unions. And that's the marketplace this afternoon. Thanks for watching. As always, remember that we have an important conversation going on right now on radio Joy 99.7 FM on the masterclass. There you go, on the entrepreneurial rebound, how you can survive as an entrepreneur during these times of the pandemic. You can log on to Facebook, follow the discussion, Joy 99.7 FM. Otherwise, monitor on radio. That's our program this afternoon. Thanks for watching.